anything. I'm still working on the other one with removing that stuff. It's tougher to do to keep the questions. I still haven't figured out how to keep the questions so we can see it. Last week's might just be a screen where you can see what's going on, but you won't be able to see the question box because I can't seem to remove the emails and the names. It's either the whole box. So let's avoid any emails or websites or anything like that, and that way we can see the questions while we do that. Okay. All right. So this week we're going to talk about contracts. My attorney couldn't make it on the call this week. We're going to hopefully be able to touch base with him next week. What I did, as I promised, I wanted to give you some documentation to that. Obviously, everyone needs to agree that we're participating and with an attorney and lawyers, some guidance to give us some guidance on these clauses. But these are example clauses that we can use in our contract. So I'm going to break that up over a series of weeks. We're going to do the next 2 to 3 weeks we're going to do on contracts and agreements. So this week we will do intent, email, we'll do clauses, we'll start the clauses, and then next week we'll continue with contract clauses. The week after that we're going to do lease option contract and look at that contract. The option portion of it more important than the lease. So we'll do the option and maybe break that up into 2 where we can do options and the lease agreement. Of course, all those contracts need to be vetted by your attorney. These are for example purposes, so you can get a better understanding of why we write them the way we write them, and the benefits for us. Okay, so before we start, let's start with questions. I got a couple of emails I wanted to talk about. Danny has a deal that he's looking at, so we'll be looking at that tonight. Also, I got a email about a property. Give me 1 second. From Alicia. So we can talk about that if you want today. You're on the call. At least you're on the call. Maybe not, but we'll talk about that if she gets an opportunity to jump on the call. Any other questions? Somebody said, speaking of leases, of a lease. So why don't we start with general questions, and then we'll jump into the contract piece again, and I'll provide that for you. Okay. So let's. Okay. Okay, hold on. Is there a way to avoid recapture of the way they do in the States? And yeah, that's a great question. The 1031 exchange, there isn't really something like that that I know of where you can take the investment and reinvest it. Some people have tried what's called a Smith maneuver. That's pretty much the closest thing I've seen to it. It's basically borrowing or borrowing from the house, your house, getting a line of credit, and then using that money to invest. And obviously the interest would be a write-off. Something similar to this. Best to, if you're interested in the Smith maneuver, you can look that up and read it. But there's none that I know of that you can do a 1031 exchange. It's too bad. It would be a great help to investors to allow them to continue to invest and give them that benefit. Forms, contracts, information about lending money, flipping houses on a street. Okay. Several low evaluation properties available on a street. Can flipping them increase the value? Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So every time a property is sold and at a higher value, that's gonna be an upward push towards the values of the properties nearby. A series of properties in a particular neighborhood can cause it to go up based on sales. So yes, that can push the prices up, and actually it can help with evaluations for lines of credit against the property. So yes, flipping houses on a street for a higher price, as long as the purchases are real and sound and legal, yeah, that'll absolutely push the prices up. Okay, my friend's sister-in-law is asking me help with a lease option. Okay, so when you say that they're asking you for help on a lease option, are you talking like a rent to own? They want to do a rent to own with you, for you. How does that work? Who are they in this deal? Are they a tenant buyer? Are they, who are they? She has cash but bad credit. She wants to buy. She has a down payment. 3 to 5% down payment is what we'd like to see. Lots of cash. That's good. That's good. And so she has cash. Does she have an income? Okay, good. Income is good. She has a restaurant. Okay, so the first step, let's do this. Let's take it step by step. Okay, so the first step that you're going to want to do, okay, do you have a mortgage broker? Okay, you need to get a mortgage broker. Okay, take her to the mortgage broker. No worries. Take her to a mortgage broker to get her qualified. If her credit was good, you know, what could she qualify, what amount, and how long, if she does A, B, and C, will it take for her to repair her credit? So in other words, when can she buy a house? And that's sort of where the term of the agreement comes. So it could be 1, 2, 3 years or even 5 years. You want to do all that and make sure that she's qualifying not for today's price, but 3 or 5 years from now. And then you have an idea of what price she can afford based on her income and the amount of cash she has for a down payment. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's the first step. That's the first step. Okay, give me 1 second. 1 second. Okay, let's stop typing. If she asks me more, you mean more steps? Is that what you mean, more steps? Okay, that's when you're gonna bring it up on the Tuesday call, which would be great. We'll go through step by step with everybody, or you can email me. Okay. I just want you to focus on that. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, and larger properties with more doors have a lower cap rate than smaller properties with less doors, and still be a good deal. Well, I would argue that a property with more doors should be easier for us to get the better cap rate than a smaller property. A single family home is not going to typically produce a 10% cap rate, where a multi-unit property has the ability to do that. So I would say that more doors should give us a better chance to get that cap rate that we want. Now cap rate. Now we said we want the 10% cap, the 10 cap rate. There is some wiggle room there. The main thing that 10 cap rate is there for. Can anybody tell me why? I explained that a couple weeks ago. Why is it important to have that 10 cap rate? There's definitely a reason for that. Yeah, it's for creative financing. That's right, Sierra. It's for creative financing. So if we get a 10 cap rate, we can use 6-7% cap rate and still make money for interest, right? For financing. Now if our financing doesn't require that high, the cap rate can come down. That's why we have the indicators of money per door and related to cap rate and what we're looking for. And typically we're only looking for 75 a door. That's after all expenses. So there's some flexibility with the cap rate. It's really to protect you and allow you to actually produce an income off a property with some creative financing. If creative financing is at a lower rate, or the financing we're using is at a lower rate, the cap rate can be a little less. The main indicator for you is you want to make sure that the property produces income, produces 75 plus a door in the area of multiple units. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Good. Okay. I might have a good review for you. Mine seems fairly good. I just talked to him about rent to own tonight. Oh, good. Pretty good. All right. There you go. All right. So, any other questions? Okay, somebody's typing. I'm gonna wait a few more seconds. Okay, here we go. With lease options, we hold the money for the tenant buyer and trust account. And you can hold it in your company, or you can do that. I mean, the money needs to come back to them, but it doesn't have to be that money. So, you know, the money is owed to them in the event that the purchase is made. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. It's non-refundable option consideration. So the security really isn't, you know, you can do anything with the money. Really, it's yours. Once the contract and agreement is signed, done properly, obviously with working with your attorney, it's not about the money being, you know, securing the money. It's your money. So you could do anything you want with it. You could use it for the down payment of the house if you want it. It's that money needs to be retrieved, or more specifically, not that money, but the amount needs to be, you know, we want to be able to give that amount back to them in the purchase of the property. So, and I want you to all remember that obviously when you're working if you're taking 3% for the house, let's say for down payment, and the property has a 5% appreciation rate in year one. Well, just in the price of the house increase for that year, you've already made that money back. That the money could be used. You've gotten more than that for the purchase of the house. Does that make sense to everybody when I say that? Does everybody understand what I mean by that? So if the house is $100,000 and we do a 3% and they give us $3,000, and the appreciation rate we put in the contract is 5%, and we agree with the seller, the buyer, 5% for the year. The house can be purchased anytime during the year or an anniversary date for $105,000. Well, we've taken $3,000, right, from them as a deposit. You know, the $3,000 has already been recovered in that first year in appreciation back to the seller. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense to everybody? So there's the money's yours. The money's yours. Not sure. What is okay? What is that? What is that? Can you put that in English? I wish I could write French. Sharing contact. Oh, I see. Okay, you're okay with that coming in the recording, yes? I hope. So I can just, okay, good. That's fine. You need it. That's good. Okay, so does that make sense does everybody understand about what the example I just said about the property, the 5%? Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody not understand what I just shared? Okay, anybody else? You guys are talking in French. You guys are killing me. I don't know what you're saying there. So, I hope it's all good. Okay, let me show you a quick example. Okay, so let's go. Share one word. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so if a property is 100K, okay, it's 100K, and that's the purchase price, right? So they're purchasing, or the value of the house, right, for the tenant buyer is 100K, and we say in year one it's going to appreciate 5%. We agree. Okay? Anytime during year one or anytime during year one or anytime on the anniversary date, because you can make it an anniversary date when they get purchased. The house now can be purchased for $105. Okay, so everybody follow me. That's the new purchase price, year one. Okay, so because year one, it's $105. If we take a deposit, a non-refundable option consideration of 3%, that would be $3,000. Okay, it'd be 3K. That 3K is already recovered that first year. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense to everybody? So if you know, that money should be obviously claimed in your business. That money should come to your business, right? It should be going through your business. This deal is running through your business, right? The money's always already recovered in the first year with the appreciation of, say, 5% or whatever rate that you do. You can calculate that, but this is an example where that's already done. No, it's not always 3%. It could be 5%. It could be 3 to 5%. You know, you kind of want to be in that range. 3 is a nice minimum. 5's fine. 5's what a first-time home buyer would put down. I mean, you know, there's people that sometimes, you know, want to put more money down. The reason is because as far as they're concerned, they're buying the house. So they're just putting the money away for the house. But for us, for protection reasons, you know, we want this non-refundable option consideration, this $3,000. Why do we want that $3,000? Who can tell me why we want the $3,000? Yep, skin in the game. Excellent. What else? Protect ourselves in case of default. Excellent. Those are the reasons right there. So we want them to be motivated. Yeah, we want them to be motivated. And if something goes wrong, you know, we have a $3,000. You know, basically, if you were doing rent and it was first and last month's rent, you know, this is more than first and last month's rent. On a 100K property, you're not typically going to get, you know, 1,000. You're going to get maybe 800. Usually that works out to being 3 or 4 times the rent of a house for security deposits. So this gives us 3 to 4 months, in some cases longer, 5-6 months of rent in security in the event that they default. That's tough. So I do get often asked about books. It's tough. It's tough because when I refer a book, it's not necessarily because I think everything in there is great. So if everybody understands that, I can give you a book to read that'll really give you a great understanding, a better understanding of money. If you guys would like, I can give you a book about that. Okay, so Rich Dad Poor Dad, yeah, obviously. So here's another book that's has been influential for me in understanding money. It's called The Ascent of Money. The Ascent of Money. What's really cool is you can get this in audiobook and you can get it in paperback if you like to read it, or on your tablet, or you can also there's also a mini series that was done by the BBC about it. It's called The Ascent of Money. Okay, Ascent of Money, great book. I'll see if I can every week or so give you a new book to read, but that's an excellent book. Excellent book. Really gives you the history of money. It'll blow you away. Blow you away. Okay, that is by, give me 1 second. I will tell you. I'd like to say read, but I didn't read it. I do audiobooks. Probably no less than 15 times. That's how great this book is. And it's packed with information. So let me see. The Ascent by Niall Ferguson. Niall Ferguson. Ferguson. Yep, you got it. That's right. Great book. Did you really? That book is amazing. That book is amazing. Okay, what was that link? What's that link? PDF of what? That book? Of the book? All right, is it a legal copy? Is it a public copy, a legal copy? It's from Google. Okay, is that like Google? It's a portion of the book. Is that what you mean? Actually, man, that's what it's all about. First link. Okay. All right. Okay. Before you populate any links, please let me know what you're populating, because I'm gonna keep the recording. I want to keep it if you don't mind, just so I know what it is. Okay. So let's do this now. Let's look at. Actually, that'd be good. If I could give you guys a book a week to read, that would be awesome. So maybe we could do that as a tradition. Okay. So let's do screen sharing. And we're gonna look at Danny's deal, okay? So there we go. Okay. Okay. Sure. Oh, actually, this is an article. I want to send you the link. See, this says new mortgage rules sending borrowers down the credit ladder for alternative lenders. Okay. Is this good or bad for us? This is awesome. So what they're saying in this article is it's based. This just came out February 5th. What this article is saying is mortgage brokers say that the borrower rejection rate from large banks and traditional monoline mortgage lenders has gone up as much as 20%. And banking regulations imposed by the new mortgage insurance. So basically, they're saying that the rate is way up on people not being able to get mortgages, and they're looking for alternative solutions. So what that creates for us is more people that need help, our help, creative financing and creating an option that works for them and works for us. So this is a excellent article. Talks about the different challenges that they're having. Basically says the same thing. I was just in the bank today, and I was talking to the young lady there, and she's financial advisor. We were talking about the problems, and they're getting nervous. The banks are getting nervous. Yep, I can share the link. Banks are getting nervous about the people that they're turning away, and so much so that they're convinced. Some of them are convinced that they're going to drop the rates, the interest rates, mortgage rates are going to drop. Maybe Canada rate, bank rate won't change, but they believe at least the mortgage rate will go down to help people be able to borrow. That's how challenging it is. Okay, so let's get this down. Okay, that's a different thing. We're going to look at that just yet. Okay, let's look at this deal. The black square that you see is your chat box, just so you know. So this is Danny's deal. Danny, I took up the address, right? We don't need to look at that. Okay, so 186 is the property price. 186 is not the listed price, right, Danny? What's the listed price? Dan, do you remember the listed price? Is that the listed price? No, what's the listed price, Danny? Coming, okay. Oh, $239. Okay, so you dropped the price because you thought that would be a price that you feel like you could get for. Is that right? Okay, good. Okay, give me 1 second. So we're gonna go down this. I just want to check something real quick for closures. Okay, any background you want to share? Is this just the listed properties or foreclosure? Is this a foreclosure? Is there anything interesting or additional that we got to look at? Okay, I'll let you type in any information you want to add. Two units, $812 per unit. Okay. Okay, looking in good shape, but we need a refresher. It could be interesting. Investors' cash flow. They asked for 239. It currently empty. No tenants. Duplex is 2 by 6.5 with 3 bedrooms each unit. Legal warranty comes with it. On a foreclosure listing coming from my agent. I was thinking the offer. Okay, so just want to check, Davey. Does the bank own this property? Okay, so when banks own property, they're really, they're really challenged to give any sort of discount. Not because they don't want to, but because they're required to sell near or at market price. So this price here, they might resist, but you never know. You can't go wrong in asking, right? The other thing is, I see that there's 2 units. They're separate units. It's a duplex. $812 is relatively low for rent. So is the area? Is it blue collar? Is it working class? Is it what income range do you see in this area? Lower income? Because that rent is medium. Okay, that rent's low. Is there any way we can get that rent up? Because that rent's low. If it's a good neighborhood, for a whole house, $812 sounds excellent for the tenant. Okay, all right, okay. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, so taxes, insurance, utilities, snow. Obviously, they're paying their own bills for tenancy. Vacancy 5.5 and maintenance 10. We look down and we see that the net operating income is 54%, which is excellent, pretty good. Net operating expense is 45.7. So it looks like it's in healthy shape. Now we come back to the financing. So the first mortgage, okay, let's change that to a 4 because this is a residential property. Okay, does everybody know why it's residential? Why is this residential? We could probably get 3.5. Yeah, it's 2 units, right? So 4 units. Some banks will do 5, are all considered residential. Yeah, some of them 5 is the number, it becomes commercial, but there are institutions that look at 5 as residential. So the first mortgage is let's go 3.5, and then we go second mortgage 20%. If we continue with the financing. Let's do this. Let's put this at 0 for a sec, and let's go at 20% down. I just want to look at that. Okay. Now here we see the coverage ratio, and this is 1.2. Okay, it's 1.2 is what we want. It's 1.18. Okay, so it's a little lower than the coverage ratio we'd like to see of 1.2, which simply means that you're bringing in more money than you need to cover the expenses of the financing, right? And that's what the banks want to see. Do you have enough money? Are you bringing in enough money? Now, what's interesting about that is the banks typically are just going to look at income from the property when they run that calculation. We're way more aggressive on coverage ratio than the banks would be. So the coverage ratio would be a little higher on the bank side. Some institutions would possibly be as aggressive as we are. I've never seen them, but if they're out there, we know that we're 1.8. So coverage ratio is good. The cash-on-cash return is 4.38. That's bad. It just simply means the $20,000 that we put in, how much are we making from the return after all expenses and financing. Average profit per unit is $68. We're just below the rate. So let's go look. I want to show you an example. So if I change this to, let's say 2. Now, do you see what happens here? Let's go back to 3. 3 is enough. Okay, so look, the current cap rate is 5.7. Everybody see that? Current cap rate is 5.7. But I still got $87, and then the coverage ratio is still good. Now, the reason that cap rate, if we can work with that cap rate, is what? Why is that cap rate workable? Who can tell me? Why is that cap rate workable? Typically we want 10. We want 10 as a cap rate. And we explain why for the creative financing. So the cap rate, even at 6%, it's 5.7 at 6. Still, we're producing $87 a unit. We got our vacancy, our maintenance, we got our management. So we've done the right things. We've covered the right costs. But that cap rate seems too low. The reason we're getting it, yeah, because exactly, Timothy, exactly, because we've reduced the financing costs. It'll work. But see, you give up something. What are we giving up? What are we giving up? So yeah, low cap rate, we're making 87 a door, so we're safe that way in the way of financing and income. But at the end of the day, there's a problem. What's the problem? We could get away with this. It's got the right coverage ratio, it's got the right income. Cap rate sucks, we know that, but we're still making money. Cash up front, good. Which relates to what? Which relates to what? What's that relate to? You have the down payment. What's it relate to as a metric, as a number? What's it relate to? Here's the problem, right here. See it? Cash on cash return. That's it. You got it. You see, you got it. Yeah, that's the problem. 6%. Now you got to ask yourself, is it worth the risk of this property or any property for 6%? In my view, no. 6% cash on cash return, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So, and I'm not saying, Danny, this is a bad property by any means. I'm just saying, in general, when we look at these metrics, they can tell us a story. And the story is, how well positioned are we in this property? Because we want to make sure that when we come into these properties, that we're in the best possible position. Because once you get these properties, they're yours. They're yours. To liquidate these properties, it is not an easy task. It's not a cheap task, a low-cost task to liquidate a property. So when we come into a property, this is why we're so, due diligence is so important to us. We're aggressive with our numbers because we don't want to take these things on unless they make money for us. So yeah, maybe you're not going to do 50 properties this year, but if you do 1 or 2 that are done right, that's going to be the difference. We don't want to add any properties to our portfolio unless it's making us money, right? So we're going to say no a lot, and I think that's great. I think it's great that we say no, that we're very, and when you look at successful people, they do say no to a lot. They do say no to a lot of deals. It's only the great deals that they do, and having that critical, objective assessment of what's being presented to you, I think is important as an investor if you want longevity and you want long-term success. So I want you to keep that in mind, okay? I know you're saying no to a lot of properties, and a lot of the properties, the numbers don't look good, but again, and this is key, good deals are created. We got to create them, okay? But we have to have something to work with, right? There has to be something to work with, okay? And the creative financing really is the place that we do things that allow us to participate in a deal, right? So, like VTB. Okay, so if we come down here, we see the estimated value now is 105. That's simply based on the net operating income times 10, which is the cap rate we're looking for. That gets us the 10 cap rate. As we look down here, the cap rate, we see that the cap rate now is 10. We're happy with that. But obviously that dip is large. And if we look down here, yep, right, we look down, let's see. We see that the ratio, at least for us, when we're looking at first offer, we're looking at 48% of the price. With VTB, it's 94, and that's only a 5% discount from our maximum offer in this case, which is 105. So, the numbers on this property do not look well enough for us to participate. Also, coupled with the bank owning it and them being very restrictive on negotiation, most institutions at least, it might be a challenge for us to get this deal. Now, what you can do is use this opportunity, Danny, to develop a relationship with this bank. Okay, so reaching out to the institution or the realtor that deals with the institution, they're dealing with foreclosures. This might be an opportunity for you to establish a relationship with the bank and or the representative realtor of the bank to talk to them about future opportunities. So you can tell them, the numbers don't look right on this, but I am interested in these types of properties. More so, I would love to be able to help out people that are in pre-foreclosure. I know you can't disclose that information, but I'd be more than happy to participate and see what I could do to help people. And when it does come to the foreclosures, these are the kind of things I'm looking for. And you tell them, these are the kind of things I'm looking for. I'm looking for income properties that produce, 7 to 10 cap rate, with all expenses included, and the possibilities of creative financing. Open to creative financing. You don't tell people you need creative financing. Tell them you're open to creative financing. You're open to the idea of creative financing, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so any questions on this by anybody? So when the bank takes, this is another name for these are called REOs, real estate owned properties, which basically once the bank takes the property on, there's rules and regulations and stipulations that they got to live by, and one of them that's tough for us is they basically got to sell it at retail, and they got to recover their investment, but there might be no mortgage left on this property or little mortgage, and they still got to sell it near retail. And I think that's not a terrible thing, because it avoids the market being flooded with foreclosures like it was in the U.S. at discounted prices, which creates a downward pressure for properties typically in that area. We actually tell them, yeah, why not? Don't be afraid to tell people what you're looking for. Yeah, tell them. Be straight up. Be honest. I'm looking for you don't have to show them the Excel sheet, Rodney. You just tell them that you're looking for a cap rate between 7 and 10. If they ask you what cap rate is, explain it to them. If the value of the property is $100,000, after I pay all my bills, I'd like to make $10,000. Net operating income. That's pretty much what it is. That's a great simple example. Does everybody understand that? Well, if the property, Davey's asking if you know if the bank owns it. Not the realtor will know, right? The realtor will know. But if a property is foreclosed, this is a foreclosure property. Typically, the possession is transferred to the bank, and or the bank's creating a forced sale in, say, a power of sale situation. I mean, you can always check who's on title, but that necessarily in some provinces they don't have to change title. The seller can be forced to sell the property. So that's not always the case. Just whoever's representing the property, realtor representing the property, has to know. They have to know who's the situation. That's their responsibility. They'll know. I mean, it's important for us to know, just because, you want to know who you're approaching, you want to know the audience that you're dealing with. That being said, you would still run the numbers the same way, and you'd still approach it typically the same way. Okay? All right. Any other questions about this property? Or the numbers, the metrics, anything? Okay, if we're good, say yes. Type in Y, yes, I'm good. Type it in, make sure you're all still there. Okay. Okay, good. Now I want to show you a letter of intent. So let's pretend that this property, we were interested in this property. Say this property looked good. We figured there's an opportunity here. The next step would be to email them a letter of intent. So let me give you an example of that right here. Letter of intent. So here's an email. You could put, please add the below clauses to the offer, the purchase. So these are. So in the email, you would say, I'm interested in your property, and this is what I'm willing to do. If you're interested in what I've said, please put the additional clauses. Now we're getting into clauses and contract, but this could be the one in the email, or we'll go into a deeper one. But this is pretty simple. Financing. This offer is conditional upon the buyer obtaining at his own expense satisfactory financing to him or her return for him. Oh, that's the side is not showing. You know what? Let me show you the other one. Hold on. Basically, you're sending some of these. You don't have to send the full deep one, but if you're sending one with the additional clauses, you can send a series of these clauses. So here, let's go here. Okay. So in your agreement, let's go through these. We'll go through these instead. In the agreement, all right, in via email, they put it in, you put it in. It doesn't matter. Your lawyer needs to see it, obviously. But at the top of it, one of the most important things you have to put in there is this. The terms and conditions of the schedule, put in the letter of the schedule. Does everybody understand what that means, schedule? Schedule A is just an additional addendum to it. It's an attached sheet to an offer to purchase agreement or any contract. So the terms and conditions of this scheduled letter shall prevail in the event of a conflict with the terms and conditions of the attached agreement of purchase of sale. Does everybody see that? That needs to be in there. That needs to be in there. What is it saying? What is it saying? It's saying, look, if there's a dispute, if I put a clause in this list and the clause conflicts with anything in this contract before this, it doesn't matter. The clause here, it trumps it. It trumps it. So let me give you an example. Okay. Okay. This bottom clause. So in the clause, it's a bit small. Okay. Not better. That's better, huh? Okay. So a good example of this, right? The terms and conditions of the schedule shall prevail in the event of conflict with terms and conditions of the attached agreement of purchase sale. Before we go any further, everybody agrees and understands that we're consulting with a lawyer. Okay, I'm giving these clauses. These are half the clauses. We're going to do the next half next week. We want to make sure that we have a lawyer assisting us with this. Okay, everybody understands that? Yes, yes, right? We all understand. Okay, the terms and conditions of this schedule, and it says letter because you put a letter in there. Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, which is an additional document that's attached to the offer of purchase. So the terms and conditions of Schedule A, let's say, shall prevail in the event of a conflict with the terms and conditions of the attached agreement and purchase of sale. Does everybody understand that? So let me give you an example. Let's say in the standard contract for financing, it says the buyer will obtain at his own expense bank financing. Bank financing. Does everybody see that? Bank financing. Okay, that's the key word, bank financing. This clause says the offer is conditional. Let's do this. Hold on 1 second. Check this out. The offer is conditional. The offer is conditional upon the buyer obtaining at his own expense satisfactory financing to him, her, or them for the said property on or before the date failing in which the offer shall be null and void, and the deposit shall be returned to the buyer in full without deduction. Does anybody see the difference? What's the big difference in this clause versus the standard clause in an offer to purchase contract? What's the big difference? Yeah, satisfactory to us. You know, we decide if the financing suits us. There is no date too. Nice, Karen. There is no date. So basically, this would run. This could run all the way to close, right? Now we can. Oh boy, here said property before date failing in which it shall be. So the date we would put in. So we would put in the date and all the way to the end of the contract if you wanted. This could say, an actual date, 14 days, whatever on the acceptance of the offer. You can put in the date. The bigger thing is this offer is conditional upon the buyer obtaining his own satisfactory financing to him, her, or them. Right? Satisfactory financing for us. Not bank financing, satisfactory financing for us. So it gives us some flexibility on backing out of a deal based on the interest rate at the bank doesn't make this deal work. Does everybody understand that? So the interest rate I'm getting from the banks, is not good enough. It's not good enough to make the numbers work. I need a smaller interest rate or a different term. Therefore, I'm not going to do this deal. Does everybody understand that? Any questions about that? That's a big deal because the one in the contract says bank financing, and in some way, shape, or form, if you say to them you've waived every condition, they say, I can't do it because I can't get financing. The only financing is the bank financing. If you could get it, you're buying the house. You can get that bank financing. You can't just say a clause, I can't, or it hasn't been fulfilled. If you haven't tried to get the money from the bank and you actually are eligible to get the money from the bank, and that's the only clause that's standing, you would be buying that house in most cases, right? Does everybody understand that? Okay, if you're with me, say yes. All right, we're still together here? Okay, don't worry, I'm going to give you a copy of this, okay? Everybody gets a copy of this list, and then we'll do the second half next week, okay? All right. Okay, but we're gonna use a lawyer. Everybody, we're gonna use a lawyer. So let's go through these quickly. Okay, the offer is conditional upon the buyer being satisfied with the statements of income and expenses, which the seller agrees to provide within 5 business days of acceptance of this offer for the period of whatever date you want to put there, to whatever date, including to date, which is basically to present, including rent receipts for each apartment to verify what the tenant is paying monthly. Taxes, insurance, hydro, gas, water, for the same period, as well as the receipts for any other expenses and improvements to the property. We also provided bills. That's water bills. Bills. Okay, we're good with that one. No questions. Pretty simple. The offer is conditional upon the buyer being satisfied with all the information pertaining to the tenants, including copies of leases, names, units occupied, monthly rent payable, due dates monthly of any prepaid rent, to date that was paid in arrears in rent, which information of the seller agrees to provide within 5 business days of acceptance of this offer. The seller agrees to provide the buyer with the acknowledgement of tenant, signed by each tenant outlining the key terms and conditions of the tenancy, basically a lease. The buyer has the right just of any tenant to verify the information. Pretty simple, yes? Nothing crazy there. The seller agrees to cooperate in providing access to the property for the purpose of viewing the property. The buyer reserves the right to show the property prior to closing to any and all prospective occupants, partners, up until the date of closing with 24 hours notice. Up until closing date, to the closing date. Okay? That's important for us, yes? Yes? We understand that, right? Okay, so we can make sure that we show it to whoever we want. Okay, there's no restriction basically. We just got to give them notice. Okay, yeah, partners. The offer is conditional upon the inspection of the property, the buyer's by the buyer or the buyer's building inspector at the buyer's own expense, obtaining written satisfactory report to the buyer. It's at its sole discretion. That's not right. At its sole discretion and absolute discretion, by date failing of which the offer shall be null and void, and the deposit shall be returned without deduction. So that last line is pretty important, right? When you're doing these types of clauses, to make sure that you're returned to the buyer returned to the buyer in full without deduction. This offer is conditional upon the buyer arranging at his own expense satisfactory insurance coverage to him or her of the said property by whatever date, failing of which this shall be null and void, deposit shall be returned without deduction. Now, obviously, you can't get financing. Typically, no one's going to give you financing if you can't get insurance. So this is not a crazy clause to have in there. It's really a part of the financing portion for a lender. So this is not a crazy thing to have. Now, if somebody asks you, says to you, "Well, I don't want this clause or any of these clauses in," what do you say to them? What do you always say? They say, "I don't want this clause in here." Yeah, I just say why. That's it. You just say why, and let them tell you, and see if the clause can be modified to meet both you and their needs. Okay. The big one usually is time. You can get away with many of these clauses. If they don't have a time frame, that's when people want to modify or change it. But some they'll say, if they don't want it, just ask them why, right? If it's, typically these clauses are for protection of us. We know that but there should be no reason, these are not accepted. Only one you're going to see some sort of pushback possibly on is times and dates, which you can modify and change, okay? All right, this offer is conditional upon the approval of the terms thereon by the buyer's partner solicitor. No big deal. My partners and buyer's partner needs to look at the property. No big deal, okay? The offer is conditional on the buyer obtaining his own expense satisfactory financing. We did that. This one here, the seller agrees to the vendor take back the amount bearing the rate of. Now, this is the VTB portion of the contract. So the seller agrees. This is something now you can put this clause in, right? You can say, look, you can put this as an option in your intent to offer, your email offer. So you could put all these clauses in an email. You really could. And the other clauses I'm going to show you next week. You could put them all in, all of them. And you could say, look, this is the price for the house I'd like. If you want a cash offer, I can give you this price. If you're willing to do a vendor take back, seller financing, I'll give you this price, which is typically a higher price. And it says, if they're willing to, we can do a vendor take back in the amount of, bearing the rate of, fixed interest for a number of years, 1 to 30 year amortization, to the balloon payment in whatever number of years with the option to extend it for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. So you put that in the email and you say, look, you want to give them, what I like to do is give them 3 options, right? 1, cash. 2nd, VTB with interest only, and VTB with interest in principal. And say to them, if whatever one you want, I'm good with. So you want to give people options, and all the options work for you. But you don't know what's driving them. It might be time, it might be money. So, in the email, you can put either or in the actual email stating, whatever one of these options works, put it in the contract. Then they see the email. You say, the realtor sees the email or the seller sees the email and says, okay, good. I like that price. I can work with this scenario 2, vendor take back interest only. I'm going to put all these conditions in there. If I have a problem with any of these conditions, I'll let them know. They'll send this with an attached offer to purchase contract, right? With an actual offer to purchase contract. And then you can, obviously we need to review it, but sign off on it, So that's really the way it works. These are a series of the clauses that we put in there. I'm going to go over the next ones next week. But those are the clauses we would like to see in that offer. And see how the seller responds to them. Any questions? No? Okay. What about, oh, no. This is just some of the clauses. I didn't do them all. I'm going to do those next week. Yes. You would have the seller's name on the lien, or their company or whatever they wanted to register the lien on it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we would put the lien on it. Okay, so let's do this. Example. Okay. And I'm going to save this like this in this example. And this is just some of the clauses. We'll go over the other half next week, okay? Okay, so so this I will give you today, okay? You guys can have this today. This is yours today, okay? All right. And let me look at something else. My pleasure. Okay, option agreement. I'm not going to do this time. We'll do it next time, but that's the option agreement. That's terms and conditions. Letter of intent. I don't like that one right now. This one we can talk about. This is another document. This is one for looking for types of homes. We'll do that in another session. But I want to do. We'll do the next series of Tuesday meetings with. We're going to talk about agreements. Okay. So can we? So any other agreements that we're looking for that you want me to share? Tell me. So we're going to do a lease agreement. We're going to do an option agreement. We're going to do rent to own. Yep, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. In a couple weeks, we'll work towards that. Next week, we're going to continue with standard clauses. Is there anything else you're looking for in the way of agreements? Wholesale, okay. Wholesale really is the assignment part of it. Commercial, yeah, Dave, we can look at commercial if there's some particular area you're looking at. It would just be more in depth with the clauses, right? So you might do in the commercial one, you're going to have the environmental, clause in there. Sandwich lease agreement, okay. Wholesale, please. Okay, so wholesale again. Wholesale, it's the assignment that's more important, but we'll talk about wholesale. Okay, that'll be good. Yeah, okay, Dave. We'll look at that. Okay. Also, I think what we want to do next week, I think we'll do the intent letter in an email. I'll show you an example email that you can send with simpler clauses, and we'll finish the rest of these examples, okay, of clauses. I think that is it that I wanted to show you tonight. Any questions? Yeah, the intent. So Danny, yeah, let me say this. Intent letter, or it's an email. It's just an intent to offer. So you're basically saying, this is my offer. If you like it, please put it into a contract. But we'll do that, Danny. We'll do that. Yeah, exactly. It is the same. Rent to own and lease options are the same. Yeah, they're the same. They're the same. Any other questions? No? Okay, so I'm going to give you this document, and everyone agrees once again. I know I'm saying it several times. I'm just going to back that up so it's on one page. Everybody agrees this needs to be reviewed with the lawyer. Yes, right? Everybody knows that. I don't want you to take this and start using it without the guidance of a professional. Okay, that's what we do. We'll go over that, James. We'll go over everything. The option contract, the option portion is different than the lease portion. Everybody understands that, right, James? The option portion is just option. The lease option, the lease portion is the lease agreement, which they have to fulfill. They have to fulfill their lease. That's just the renter's lease. The option piece gives them the right, but not the obligation to purchase that property. So yeah, we'll go over that. We'll go over that, okay? And I'll do my best. Something came up for my attorney. I'm hoping he can join us next week. He's so amazing as a contract lawyer. So he's really got some good insight on what the language means and the benefits to us. Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, let's go back to this. Stop sharing. And let's do this. And let's do add this file. Okay, share files. Okay, so we're going to add a file. This is going to be the file, okay? So you guys can all download it. In a second. Okay. Make sure it's there. Okay, here we go. All right, so there's the file. You can click on it and download it. Everybody want to do that now? Can someone let me know that they got it and opened it? Good. All right. We'll do the rest of them next week, okay? We'll do the next week. Good, good. Everybody got it? Good. Good. Yeah, we'll go over the next, another chunk of them, another chunk of clauses next week that are important to us, and further better understand what those clauses are and why they're in there, and then how they benefit us, okay? All right? Okay. What is the Schedule A again? No worries. So Schedule A, or Schedule B, it could be Schedule C, whatever. These are additional documents attached to the original document. So the offer to purchase would have a Schedule A. So the offer to purchase, standard offer to purchase, standard clauses, and then additional to that, there's another document. It's attached, and it's the Appendix A. So Schedule A. So Schedule A or Schedule B would be the additional documents to that document. So they're not the original, from the original contract. They're additions to that original standard contract typically. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Good. All right, is anybody from, because I got quite a few people on tonight, is anybody from the class, the recent class in Toronto? Maybe that we just did this weekend. Peter, my business partner, was doing it. Okay, good. Karen, good. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. I know, Ellie. Oh, good. Okay, good. 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 Okay. So, for that group, I'm just going to upload another file for you, okay? Just for you. Let's see, tasks for the week, okay? You can download that document. That's just some tasks you can do to set up the business, help you set up the business, okay? Just let me know you got the document. Yeah, I know. I didn't do last week's because of all the emails. So I wanted to let everybody know. I'm going to post it, but it's not going to have any of the chat box. You're not going to see any of the questions. So I will post it. I will post it, okay? But it's going to be different looking than the other ones. I couldn't find a way to remove the names, the emails and the names inside the chat box to allow that, because I like seeing the questions. I like you to see the questions. So yeah, we'll put that up. Oh, no worries, no worries, no worries. Okay, so you got that? Good. Good. Okay. Any other questions? I'll get up this video and the other video in the next couple days. If you have not, please register as a what do you call them? Subscribe to the channel, so then it'll let you know when the new videos go up, so you don't have to worry about it. It'll just email you. Okay? Does anybody need the YouTube link? The new people might. Let me bring up that. I would like to review a standard offer to purchase. Does anyone know where I can find one? So Zach, you can, and everybody, the best one to grab, because they're slightly different. They might be slightly different from province to province. Just get your realtor to give you an offer to purchase contract. That's all you have to do, and you'll see the one specific for their province, right? It'll list somewhere BC or Ontario. That's the one you want. That's the standard one you want. I would as an example, that would be the best one, I would tell you, in my experience. And then start there, and then you can obviously we're going to add to that and modify that for sure. Give me 1 second. So okay, it doesn't really matter here. The channel, so do that, just mute that, let me give you that, okay, alright, so this is the YouTube channel, a link just to the last one, actually the tasks before that. Yeah. You can go to do reviews. No. Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah. You can get the standard one. That's good enough, but they're different. I've seen slight differences, for province to province, possibly that might, want you to use the one for your area, Zach. Okay. That's the YouTube link. If anybody doesn't have it, you can grab it, subscribe to it, watch the videos, and enjoy. Anybody have any questions before we wrap up? So next week we're doing intent email. I'll do it as an email so you guys can see it. Intent email. Also the rest of the clauses, that'll be our focus, plus any examples that the group wants to review that you want me to share with the group. Okay. Awesome. Great day, great evening, and you have a great week. Keep hunting. Don't worry if you're seeing properties that don't fit the profile. Be glad that you can recognize the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. That's so important. Don't underestimate the value of that, really. So I don't want you to make any mistakes. I want you to be safe, and that's why we use professionals like lawyers looking over our contracts and making sure that we're reviewing everything to put us in the best possible position before we take on the responsibility of a new property. Okay. All right, excellent. If you need anything, reach out to me, know how to reach me, and have a great rest of the week. Excellent. This will be posted in a couple of days.